welcome to another episode of the Boots on the Ground podcast, a podcast brought to you by Dogs on Deployment. I'm your host, Kylie, and I'm very excited because today I am talking with Audrey. Audrey is one of our brand new Dogs on Deployment boarders who currently has her first deployed pet named Nike, and a very handsome boy that I will put up a photo on the screen so you guys can see because he's a goof and he's adorable. But I am so excited to talk to Audrey because Audrey, you are actually a veteran. You served in the Air Force for 9 years. How did that experience shape your understanding of the challenges that military members go through when it comes to their pet care?
Well, I was stationed at my last base in North Carolina, and while I was there, I got two dogs of my own. And I was lucky enough that I had family in Illinois, which was not close to North Carolina, but they were willing to watch my dogs when I deployed, and so I would drive them there before I left. But I had a lot of friends who were not so fortunate to have anybody that were able to care for their pets, especially if it was like a last minute TDY or deployment. And unfortunately, a lot of times they would end up giving their pets up to the shelter because they didn't know what else to do. That just made me think, gosh, that's just so sad. Like I could never do that. They're my kids. So
Yeah, absolutely. And my goodness, you drove from Illinois to from North Carolina to Illinois. That's quite a hike. How long of a drive is that?
I don't even remember. It was so long ago. I think for me, I think it was something like 19 hours because I'm a horrible road tripper.
Well, and that's amazing and it just really shows how much you truly loved your pets that despite, you know, going to need to be deployed, going through your service, that you were still willing to sacrifice time and effort to go 19 hours one way to have someone care for their pets.
Yeah, for sure.
That's amazing. And I I share that same sentiment. I would drive to the ends of the earth if it meant keeping my dog.
Right.
But after leaving the Air Force, you actually continued to build your life surrounded by animals. What sparked your passion for fostering and working with rescue pets?
I actually started working for Petco corporate when a couple of jobs after the military. And when I was doing that, I became friends with a lot of people who were into fostering and different aspects of rescuing, mostly dogs, some cats. A lot of my friends were into TNR, trapping, neutering, and releasing for like stray neighborhood cats. So I got into that as well. And I wanted to help, there's so many animals out there that, especially I moved here, I live in Virginia now, but previous to this, I lived in San Antonio, Texas. And out there, there's so many animals being killed every day in the shelter just for space because it's just overrun with stray animals. So it was just really heartbreaking to see. So that was really why I started fostering there. I wanted to be able to, you want to adopt them all, but you can't do that. I mean, you can, but it's not a good
I
idea.
mean, you could try, but
Right,
I think you probably start to run out of space.
right. And, at first I think I thought what everybody thought about fostering was, I'm going to fall in love with them and it's going to be too hard and I won't be able to let them go. And I think that's just a natural thought to have before you do it. And don't get me wrong, you do fall in love with them all. But I actually really prefer this dogs on deployment boarding situation to regular fostering because one, it kind of takes that temptation away because you know that this dog has a home or cat or whatever animal already has a loving home waiting, for it when your time with them are done. But, fostering for strays, you never know how long you're going to have them. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's 6 months. Most of them aren't potty trained. Some have never seen a toy before. You just never know what you're going to get. And with dogs on deployment, I feel like it's a much easier process because these animals are already living in homes, which means they should already have most basic manners. And you can talk to their owner and get a sense of their personality, especially if you have other animals in your home and you want them to be able to interact well. You don't have any of those options when you're just fostering for a rescue or a shelter because you don't have any history on the animal most of the time. So it's just a much easier, honestly, process. And you do fall in love, but you stay in touch. And with fostering for rescues, you fall in love. And I probably at least once with every foster that I had, and I fostered probably close to 100 dogs, that I would keep them at least once
Mhm.
with every foster, except for maybe a couple. But then you meet the people that want to adopt that dog and you see how perfect their situation is for that dog. And you start thinking about, well, if I keep this one, I won't have room to save anymore. And so that's kind of what keeps you going.
Yeah, absolutely. I've also fostered myself, and I definitely share that same sentiment. I thought I was gonna fall in love, and I did fall in love, but it was so rewarding to get that pet to the family that loves them so much and was so excited to welcome them into their home. And dogs on deployment, like you mentioned, the great thing is you do know their background, you know where they're coming from, you can have those conversations. And for our listeners, in case you're not familiar with dogs on deployment, our Hero Pet Boarding Network volunteers, like Audrey here, can go and enter into the network and volunteer to open up their home for free. And what I mean by for free is they're not charging our service members or our first responders any fee for loving and caring, for their pet for whatever time that they are gone for their service commitments. However, the great thing is, as well, is your service member or first responder maintains financial responsibility for the pet. So any of their care essentials like their food, their medications, veterinary visits, they're financially responsible for that. But all of that being said, you also get a boarding care plan as well from your service member, the pet owner, that details all of that information. So you have everything you need, kind of like a map on how to care for the pet. And as Audrey mentioned, you can maintain communication with your service member, pet owner during the boarding process, as well as even after, if you would like to, as well. So you have everything you need. But we keep talking about, boarding versus fostering. I would love to make sure that our listeners know that Audrey is an exceptional human being. She has actually fostered nearly 100 rescue dogs in Texas, and now you're with Dogs on Deployment as a DoD boarder. What led you to that transition into becoming a boarder, and why?
Well, when I moved here, so I had first found out about dogs on deployment. It's funny because came up in my Facebook, it was just last week, where the first, I think, post that I had shared from Dogs on Deployment of a dog looking for a boarder. And back then I was fostering for rescues in Texas, and I wanted to do that there because the need was so great there for that. And when I moved here to Virginia last 2 years ago, the shelters here are not overrun like they are down in San Antonio. And so once I got settled here, and by everybody, I mean my 5 animals at the time I had, I'm crazy. Um,
That's
once
like
we
that
were
is the
all,
best kind of crazy.
yes, it is. Once we were all settled in, I decided, let me look on the website, Dogs on Deployment website. And I had created a profile, but had never opened myself up for as available. And I went ahead and decided to do that. And I actually did reach out to 2 other pet owners that were in Virginia looking for someone to board their pet. But it just didn't work out for whatever reason. I didn't hear back from one of them, and the other person, I don't know what happened. But and then about 2 weeks went by, and I got a message from Nike's owner, and I was so excited. They actually live on the east coast of Virginia, and I'm in the southwestern side of Virginia. So it's about a 4-hour drive between our 2 houses. But seeing as I do have I have 3 dogs and 2 cats, or I had 3 dogs and 2 cats at the time. And I had asked Nike's owner how he was with cats because cats can be jerks. And I have a big jerk of a cat, but today's actually his birthday. He's 11 today.
Oh,
But
happy
yeah,
birthday.
but anyway, sorry. Um, but so I had asked her how he was with cats, and he had never really been around cats. So she took him over to a friend's house that had a cat, and he seemed pretty disinterested. But of course, it's always different in any situation with animals. It just totally depends on those particular animals and that situation. So she did agree to drive out to my home, on a weekend before she was gonna leave to see, how he would do with all of my animals. And he did great. He's 90 pounds and he just turned 2 March 19th. So he's a big, big baby. But he is just the sweetest, gentlest boy. Gentle, but also he'll beat you up just because he doesn't know how big he is and he thinks he's a lap dog. I have 2 small dogs, and so when they're climbing all over me on the couch, he thinks that he can do that as well. So
Oh, of
I'm
course.
covered in bruises. Yeah,
Oh, no.
but it's okay. It's the best. It's the best. I told his mom when she comes back and gets him, I'm gonna have to get a 90-pound weighted blanket so that I can put it on
Oh,
myself so that it's like when he lays on top of me on the couch.
that's so sweet.
He's a good
Well,
boy.
and something I would love to also kind of circle back to for our listeners. You mentioned that you'd reached out to a couple of other service members previously that were looking for boarders and then didn't hear anything, but Nike's owner then reached out to you. I would love to kind of touch on that a little bit because that's sometimes questions that we get from people that are in the network that have not yet had a boarded pet. There are sometimes reasons that you might not have a boarded pet yet. That could be, geographically, you might not necessarily be located near someone that's currently needing help, or the seasonality of deployments. We might not be in a cycle at the moment that you're not seeing a whole lot of help needed, which is great for the pets. Or in some circumstances it could also be that we have so many people like Audrey that are willing to help and ready to help that unfortunately service members might be a little over inundated with appreciation for wanting to help. So please, I appreciate and wanted to thank you for not getting discouraged despite not receiving those messages back, because that is something that, it does unfortunately happen. Of course, we would love to see responses, but, unfortunately,
We're
sometimes.
at the bottom of the list as far as priority goes on their list of priorities of what they're getting ready to go do. And I understand that. So I had no concerns with not hearing back. I figured if I was needed, I would have heard back.
Absolutely. But I did, of course, want to say, thank you for that. And I wanted to explain that too for those of our listeners that may or may not have any affiliation with the military. Like you said, that there's so much going on leading up to a deployment, both personally, professionally. There's a lot going on, and they love their pet and they care about their pet. But unfortunately, if they are over inundated with multiple people wanting to help, ultimately they primarily talk and correspond with the person that they ultimately have caring for their pet. And of course, I'm sure everyone would love to receive responses back, but like you said, unfortunately, there's just so many moving pieces and so many things going on. So just wanted to thank you for not getting discouraged and being so understanding, and also for our listeners kind of giving some of that background explanation on to like what goes on there, and continue
Yeah.
to encourage you to please, if you're listening and you are currently in our network and you don't yet have a boarded pet, please don't get discouraged because, unfortunately, we never know when a pet is going to need our help and where that's going to happen because, I keep saying service member, and that's something that, Dogs on Deployment is known for. And most frequently, we have service members in our network that are using us, be it for deployment, training, overseas, moving, and they can't take their pet with them for one reason or another. That's primarily what we see. But I also want to make sure our listeners know too that while that is the bulk majority of our network and those that are seeking our help, it's not the only thing. So we do also help veterans as well. So for example, if veterans are needing um, surgery for or medical treatment for something related to service, and if they have no one to help care for their pet, especially during that recovery process, Dogs on Deployment helps with that too. And veterans can be anywhere in the world, anywhere in the nation, any country. We never know when someone's going to need help with their pet because they're having surgery or where they're located. So please don't give up hope. And also wanted to make sure you know that even if you don't ever have a boarded pet and you're in our network, please know that even just taking that step of signing up, being in our network, and keeping your account active if you are able to have a pet in your home is so critically important because we are, we're a response network. So if it happens, you're there, and that means the world. So thank you, Audrey, for not losing hope and continuing to not take it personally. And, then it manifested into Nike for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And
Nike,
I love him.
so you love him. He's your first boarder. What has the experience
I
been
love
like
them
for you so
all.
far?
It was a little crazy at first, like it would be. I mean, when you're adding a new animal in a new environment with a new routine and new people, new smells, I mean, it's just overload. In rescue, there's that saying 333, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. So a dog doesn't really fully become who they are for 3 months after getting to a new location. So that's just something that I always try to keep in mind whenever bringing a new animal in to my home in particular, just because I have so many different animal personalities going on to deal with already. But he's been really great. Um, like I said, my Boston Terrier was the mean girl to him when he arrived. All
Not the
25
cat.
pounds of her to 90 pounds of Nike, and she was trying to tear his head off.
So the Boston Terrier was the mean girl this time. The cat, not so much.
Oh, well, there are videos of Nike with my cat as well. It's pretty funny. Nike looks terrified. Nike is
Oh,
terrified
this
of my
big
one cat.
beefy boy, terrified of the cat.
Yes. And that's what I mean. Like, he's the biggest baby. He's just he's the biggest goofball. He barks at everything. Over the winter, when I would turn on my fireplace, because I have a remote from the fireplace, as soon as it got to the point, as soon as I would pick up the remote, he would start barking at the fireplace. And I'm
Oh
like,
my
buddy,
gosh.
we've been doing this now for months. What are we doing?
That's
I
so
caught him one
funny.
time barking at himself in a mirror.
Oh my gosh.
This is
I
this dog.
it sounds like there is no shortage of entertainment with Nike in your home.
It's very true. And, so when to, he got here in October, and at that time I had 3 dogs of my own. But unfortunately, in November, my German Shepherd that's there behind me, she passed away in November. So it was really, it was obviously a very sad moment for all of the pets in my house and myself. But having Nike here really was a big help because I think he was a very good, goofy distraction and just kept us all kind of occupied. And it was nice to have him here for that.
Well, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I'm
Thank
also
you.
happy to hear that sounds like Nike, there's never a dull moment with him, that he was able to be that, that light in the, sad time. So,
Yeah.
but I'm so sorry for your loss, but appreciate that you were willing to continue to board and do dogs on deployment despite your own, loss. So thank you for that. And I know we also talked a little bit already about, dogs on deployment. The nice thing that you like about that is you have that background information on the pet and you know what you're getting versus rescue. Is there any other differences that you've experienced in how they compare to your past experiences with rescuing animals versus, sorry, rescue fostering rescue animals? There's so
Yeah,
many of those key
I
buzzwords in
know.
there that I just jumble them all.
Yeah, so I think another one of the big differences, which is nice just for anybody, I mean, we're all, I think, time constrained these days.
Mm.
But usually when you have a foster with a rescue, you have to go to adoption events and meet and greets and things like that, or have people do meets and greet in your home or whatnot. So obviously that all takes time out of your day. Oh, and also you had mentioned before about how the service member, is still financially responsible for their pet, and that's been absolutely true for Nike's owner. She's been great. Luckily, she's somewhere where she has good internet access, and we're able to keep in contact. I'm sending her photos and videos all the time, and anytime he needs anything, she sends me whatever he needs right away. So she's been really great about that. I mean, just no issues whatsoever. She even sent my dogs and cats Christmas presents on
Oh my
Christmas, which
gosh,
was
that's
really
so
nice. I got
sweet.
Nike a stocking and we hung it on the fireplace with because all of mine have stockings. So yeah, she sent everybody gifts and everything. So that was really cute.
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. I've had so many amazing conversations with boarders where boarders have gone above and beyond for the pets in their care. I'm sure it happens all the time. This is just like my first time, like, oh, actually, you know what? I can't even say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go back on what I was going to say. But I've, had so many great conversations because borders go above and beyond, and like I can already tell just from you, like you treat them as if they're your own when you have them.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure it happens even more than what I'm aware of conversations with, our DoD borders
I'm
and
sure.
pet owners in the network, but, like, that's a first that I've heard of another pet owner sending not just their own pet, but the current boarder's personal pets
Yep,
present. It's so sweet. I've had one
yep,
other experience and conversation, which is why I was gonna say, "Oh, it's a first," but it's not really a first. One of our other boarders, had a surgery. She didn't even have the pet in her care currently, but so many people continue to maintain relationships between
right.
boarders and service members past that boarding experience, and she had gone through surgery, and they're like, "Yeah, the service member sent us a you sent me a care
Oh, that's
package."
awesome.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah,
So I think that's the biggest thing that I want our listeners to take away from any conversation that you ever hear between, myself and any border service members. Everyone always talks about, the community aspect, the family aspect. There's so much connection that goes on within dogs on deployment that it's honestly personally my favorite part of because I mean, I love pets obviously, but seeing that relationship is going far beyond the boarding date. Like borders have sent, there was this one particular toy that a boarder knew was that pet's favorite toy, and she doesn't even have the pet in her care anymore. And she found it in the store and she mailed it to them. Like
yeah, that's awesome.
there's so much connection that goes on
Yeah.
past boarding. So I appreciate that you shared
I
that.
think that's because I've always told people there are pet owners and there are pet lovers.
Mm.
And those two things are very different. And they're both equally fine, but they're very different. I have always been a pet lover. And so any pet that is in my home gets treated like they are my pet, whether they are a foster through a rescue or through dogs on deployment, or if I'm just dog sitting a friend's dog. Everybody's treated the same here. They all get the same treats and the same scoldings. So it's a equal opportunity house.
So from bruises, from being loved on by a big 90-pound Nike to Christmas presents from his pet owner, not just for him, but also for your personal pets. All of these things being said, for someone who might be considering becoming a boarder with dogs on deployment, what would you say to encourage them to take that leap?
I mean, I would say just if you are a pet lover and you have open space in your home, and if you've thought about fostering for rescues before, but that's maybe just a little more than you're willing to bite off at this point in time, this is a safe beginning. It's a safe, wonderful beginning because for all the reasons that we've already said, you're able to know the background of the animal, you're able to talk to somebody who knows that animal well and knows their personality and their temperament. And I mean, just for you, it's just another snuggly butt to sit with on the couch. I don't know how that could ever be a bad thing.
I don't think it could be a bad thing at all.
Yeah. I would just say, I mean, try it. You'll love it. Is it going to be hard when they leave? Absolutely. Will you miss them? Absolutely. You wouldn't be a pet lover if you didn't, but it will be so worth it. Like for me, the part I'm looking forward to the most is when his mom comes home. I I, I actually told her when you come pick him up, make sure you bring a change of clothes. And she was like, what? Why? This is her first deployment, by the way. So I was telling her
There's so
when
many
I,
firsts wrapped up into the story.
yes, yes. So I told her when I would deploy, I had a 60-pound collie mix who was nowhere near as big as Nike, but when I every single time I came home from deployment, he would be so excited that while he was jumping up on me to like try to lick me, he would also be peeing all over me.
Oh, yeah,
So
you're
I'm
so
like, yeah, so
excited.
just bring a change of clothes just in case. I'm like, you never know what's gonna happen.
Well, I'm so, so excited and thankful that you've taken on Nike into your home, and very excited that despite all of these firsts and, so many things can, happen when you don't know and there's so many firsts, but I'm so excited that Nike's been your first pet and you've had such a great experience and that this is this service member's first deployment with a pet and they have someone as amazing as you and knowledgeable as you to, coach them through the first of, you might need a change of clothes. He might get a little excited and tinkle. It happens.
It does.
Yeah, but so thank you so much, Audrey, for taking the time not only to sit down and talk with me about your experience with Nike, but also for taking on boarded pets for military members. We really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
and I just want to thank you guys because, oh, when I did live in San Antonio, I was at animal control once and I was there to pick up a foster from them. And there was a military member talking to the woman about relinquishing her dog because she had nobody to watch her dog and she was deploying. And I ran up to this woman and I told her about dogs on deployment. And I don't know what happened with her or her dog, but I just hope that she was able to reach out to you guys. I love what you guys are doing. I feel like I will be a supporter always. So I just really appreciate what you guys do.
Well, we appreciate you boarding and spreading the message because that's definitely, that is the heart of Dogs on Deployment is we don't want to see any veteran, military personnel, first responder have to decide between, serving their country or going through hardship and loving their pet. It is a decision they should not have to make and we could not do what we do without people like you. So can't wait to see what the future holds and maybe some other pets being boarded after Nike. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm sure that will happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Audrey. We really appreciate your time
No
and
problem.
can't wait to see more adorable updates from Nike.
Okay, Nike. Here. You remember? Remember how I was telling you your mama was coming? Do you remember? Do you remember I was telling you your mama was coming? Do you remember, buddy? Do you remember? Do you? Because I remember. Do you remember? Hey, what are you doing? Do you want to sit down? Oh, it's a big stretch. It's a big stretch, bud. Yeah, it's a big stretch. Yeah, sit. Can you sit? Good boy. What a good boy. What a good boy. What a good boy. I'm trying to distract him so he doesn't hear them walking up to the gate. It's a good boy, bud. Come here. That's a good boy. Sit. Sit. It's a good boy. I know. Who's here? I told you she was coming. I told you.
So much.
You think?
Yes, you're a big boy.
Hey there, it's Elisa Johnson, president of Dogs on Deployment. As a veteran and a pet owner, I know firsthand the challenges military members face, especially when it comes to pet ownership during deployment, training, or PCS moves overseas. That's why I created Dogs on Deployment. We are the only free-to-use, nationwide online network of volunteer pet boarders willing to care for military member pets during their service commitments. We have one goal: to prevent unnecessary pet relinquishment by service members due to their service commitments. No military member should have to give up their beloved pet when duty calls. But we have one problem. We need you in order to help us achieve mission success. If you support the troops and love animals, you can sign up to volunteer to board one of our pets in need or make a donation online to support our Hero Pet Boarding Network. Don't wait. Visit dogsondeployment.org to get started, and don't forget to follow us on social media too. And hey, just because we're called Dogs on Deployment doesn't mean we don't help cats too. I've got dogs, cats, and even chickens, and through our network, we've helped every type of pet. So don't wait. Visit dogsondeployment.org today to support your troops and their pets.